y'all, it's Bren. I'm back. So I've actually filmed a couple of videos in the past couple of weeks, and then they just haven't turned out how I wanted, and I've scrapped them. But I feel like today is the day I'm going to do an update. It is kind of turning out to be the chill summer that I anticipated. I thought I would probably have a kind of a boring summer. It's not really boring. So I have a few things going on that I'll talk about. One is that I have gotten on Bumble BFF, and I've actually like met a couple people on there. I hung out with one of them last night. I'm meeting another one later this week. And so my social calendar is not as empty as I anticipated it might be this summer. My friend Robin hangs out a lot. I still have my friend Cassie. She's throwing a party next week. I grabbed drinks with Pete a week or two ago. Like I do, nothing really to report there, but once every like 3 months, I grace him with my presence, even though he doesn't deserve it. Uh, and so, I actually stopped swiping on the app because I was like, I have too many plans coming up. Like, I can't, that's my max friend limit. I too many people. Um, and I'll give you an update too on how the Ozempic weight loss journey is going. Wegovy, Semaglutide, that whole thing. It's going pretty well. I think I'm kind of getting past I don't have a lot of side effects anymore like I did when I first started, and I'm not losing a lot of weight, but I am steadily losing weight. But now I have some new new hoops to jump through for my insurance company to continue to be able to get the medication, which is giving me a lot of anxiety, but I'll get into that later. I think probably the biggest update is that I do have to kind of let y'all know what's going on with Ian. I have not spoken to Ian in 6 weeks now. We don't talk anymore because frankly, he pissed me off 6 weeks ago. And it's funny, it's the same exact fight that we got into in July of 2022 when we had just started dating. Like, the same shit. And it's funny how that is, right? In the last video that I made about Ian, which was probably a little premature if I wanted it to be this is in the past now and this is my self-reflective video on what happened, right? Because he was still very much in my life at that time that I filmed that video. But a lot of the comments that I got from you all were about, how I probably should make a break from this relationship and take, and just put it in the past and not really be continuing to hang out with them as friends or whatever. And some of those comments I did not approve. In fact, there were quite a few comments on that video that I didn't approve because I feared that Ian was watching the video and that he would be hurt by some of the comments. But there was one comment in particular that someone made that now it's gone. I went to approve it the other day, and then it had disappeared. But basically, you know who you are. The person said, hey, I can see why you're still friends with Pete and why you still talk to Pete, because you guys were very similar. He understands you. You're coming from the same place. You have a lot in common, and it makes sense to kind of keep someone like that in your life to a point. But with Ian, it seems like you've got, when you first met him, he was what you needed at the time. He was, outgoing and extroverted and had this circle of friends. And as I said in that video, when I first met Ian, the most attractive thing about that whole situation was the normality of it after the toxicity of the Pete relationship. But this person went on to say, it sounds like you're kind of like you've run the course with Ian and it's probably time to move on. But I at that point was still hanging on to a friendship. Things have just, what I'm trying to say is you were all right. It just took me a minute to get there. But basically what happened, so just to recap without trying to repeat myself too much from the other video that I made. Y'all know that when I first met Ian, again, it was like, wow, normal dating. This is what it's like to flirt again. This is what it's like to have a crush again, a first kiss, all of this stuff. It was good. It was healthy, it seemed at first, but very quickly we started dating in like March of 2022, and by July of 2022, we were in this fight because he loved to go to this one particular brewery that we met at. I'm just going to call it like Brewery X. We met at Brewery X. I had been going to Brewery X with Pete all of the time. I'd been going to Brewery X since they opened. It only serves vegetarian food, and so that's one of the reasons that I liked going there. But it was very close to Ian's house, so he was there all of the time, and we met there and we hung out there all of the time. But in July, I started finding out that he was going there without me like all of the time, and it was weird because he was like kind of hiding it from me, and I couldn't figure out what was his obsession with going to the brewery and not inviting me, because I had no problem with him going out without me if I was busy or didn't want to go. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a thing where I was like, you're not allowed to go to the bar without me. It wasn't something like that. It was like, no, I mean, if I'm hanging out with my friend Cassie, or if I'm working late, or if I'm just like, nah, I don't feel like going, I don't want to put on makeup, whatever, then go. But it was weird if it was like he was going, but I had nothing to do and I was bored and wanted to hang out, but he was like hiding from me the fact that he was going and going there alone. It's not like he was going to like meet up with an old friend and have like a one-on-one conversation or something that I would be butting into. No, he was just going to sit at the bar, talk to whoever was there, a co-ed group of people. It wasn't like he was having alone time and like needed to read a book at the bar or something. He was going to socialize, and he wanted to do that without me. And I could not figure out why. If we're dating, why are you wanting to go there without me? Why? Yeah, Clover, why? I don't know if you could hear that, but she meowed. And so we got in a fight about it, and he was all he could say was like, my ex didn't care if I went there alone. And I was like, well, she probably had other things going on, or didn't like going there, or didn't like drinking. I don't know. But this was just weird to me. I'd never encountered this with any other relationship that I'd been in. And I speculated on many different reasons why he might be doing this, and I could never figure it out. One of my speculations was like, is he embarrassed of me? He seemed to like to, every bar has its sad old men happy hour crowd where like between 3 and 5:30, there are dudes there who have wives, have families, have kids, but they have to get drunk at the bar before they can go home and deal with their families. The unhappy man's club, the sad, pathetic man's club, the drunks club. And to me, that is not a club that I would want to be a part of, but I think Ian did. He wanted to go there and be one of those after work drunks, but like he wasn't avoiding any home life, you know what I mean? We had been dating like 3 months at the time. Like, he shouldn't be wanting to get away from me. That didn't seem right, but it wasn't like we lived together at that point either. So I just didn't understand it, but it was almost like he wanted to be like in with those guys, and maybe he felt like if I were with him, it gave off this like ball and chain vibe, that like he wasn't a free man and couldn't go there alone. But then at the same time, what it seemed like maybe more to me was that he wanted to be in with the people at Brewery X more than I was. He wanted to be a little bit better friends with the staff. He wanted to know a little bit more about the Brewery X gossip. He wanted to be a little bit more of a regular. It had to be a little bit more his place than my place, which is a stupid competition that I wasn't playing in. You know what I mean? I mean, that's kind of an alcoholic thing, right? Like, this has to be your bar or something? Like, really? But at times I got that vibe, like maybe that was what it was. Do I think that he was there? Because I think the obvious thing that most of you might be thinking right now is like, was he trying to hit on other women? Was he like trying to pick up girls? Like, that's the reason you'd want to go to a bar without your girlfriend, right? But like, of all places, he would go to the place that like we went to together 3 nights a week, and then he'd go there on a 4th, 5th, and 6th night to try to pick up women. That doesn't make sense when we both know everybody there and everybody knows that we're dating. That's not the place that you would want to do that. You know what I mean? I couldn't figure it out. But we ended up kind of, we broke up for a couple of weeks back then in July 2022, and then he apologized. We got back together, and Man, I tell you what, all I ever tried to do was help this man. I did so much for him. I let him move in with me in October of 2022, which was too quickly, but I was trying to help him save money. His rent was going to go up. I knew he was in a bad place financially, and I thought if we are to have a future together, if I ever want to like buy a house with this guy one day, whatever, he needs to fix his credit, his financial situation. So I'll let him live with me for super cheap. And then the day after he moved in, he over withdrew his checking account and asked me to borrow $20 so he could buy vapes. And I was just like, oh my God, it's worse than I thought. And I helped him get back into school, and I helped him through a job transition. His children moved in with me too. I made space for his kids in my home, and when they were here, I was helping with them, and I was helping him so much with his health. This guy had not been to a doctor or a dentist in 20 years. He had a cyst in his armpit that bled all over my bed all of the time, and he tried to deny it and tell me he didn't know what it was, which didn't even make sense. You know what it is, but he didn't want to go to a doctor about it. And like, I finally got him into a doctor. It was a good thing I did, because he had some stuff going on, and they told him he probably would have ended up in the ER within 30 days had I not made his doctor's appointment, like his mom. Never got him to actually go to a dentist and get any of that done. I had to drive us everywhere. That really wore on me after a while, because his car was breaking down and rusting all over my driveway, but also he wouldn't get an iPass. And it was like just these little things I had to remind him to like do stuff, return stuff, pay stuff. He moved in with me and he never returned his internet router, so he got a fine for it. And just like little absent-minded things that just, it was like I had to be his mother. And you would think with the dynamic of that situation that I would lose my attraction to him. But no, he was the one who, as soon as he moved in, stopped wanting to sleep with me. So I wasn't even getting laid. And I don't even know. This whole situation in retrospect blows my mind, because I just did so much for him. And the instances of him doing something for me in return are slim and very here and there. He changed my flat tire twice. He built this desk that I'm sitting at, but that was after we broke up and he had moved out. When he was here, he picked up after himself, but he didn't clean. Like, it's more than I could say for Pete, because he did clean up the mess in his wake, except for in my basement, but I didn't care about that. That was his space. But he didn't ever, like, vacuum. He didn't ever clean the toilets or clean the shower. You know what I mean? I think he stripped to the bed and put those sheets in the washing machine once, and it was, like, kind of weird. Like, why are you doing that? What happened? He wasn't actually cleaning anything. When I would ask him for advice on stuff, I talked about this in the other video, he was not helpful. He would not help me pick out a new washing machine. I had to do that whole thing on my own. At one point he said to me, "You're doing so much for me." Like, he could see the situation. "You're doing so much for me. You've helped me so much. What can I do for you?" And I guess he just thought I would be like, "Oh, I don't know. It's okay." But instead I was like, you know what you can do? You wake up at 5 in the morning. I don't have to get up until 7:30 most days, but when you wake up at 5, the dogs want to go out. And if I get up to take them out, then I'm up. So it would be really nice if you could run the dogs out in the morning so I can sleep in. And it takes 5 minutes. I know this because every morning my alarm clock goes off and I hit the 9-minute snooze and I take the dogs out. They go to the bathroom, poop and pee, and then they come in and then I feed them. And then I go back upstairs and I still have 4 minutes left on the snooze. So it's a 5-minute thing. And I didn't mean he needed to do it every day or anything, but I was like, if you want to help me out, that's how you can help me out. And he did it once. And I remember talking to my friends and a therapist at the time and saying, I feel like I'm putting so much into this relationship and I'm just not getting anything out except companionship. The only thing I'm really getting from him is that he is here. It is someone to talk to. He's around. It's company, basically. It's someone to go to concerts with. It's someone to go grab a beer with. but I didn't know like is that enough? Could I find something more fulfilling? Would it be better off on my own? And I honestly I couldn't make that decision early on, but by the time he had lived with me for almost a year, I didn't even want his company anymore. Like we were so at each other's throats and annoyed with each other and we were fighting, and then, he moved out, and again, it was the worst week of my life. The week that he moved out was also the week that my dad was in the hospital with cancer, and then also I had the flu. It was the worst week. But after he moved out, it kind of felt like maybe we didn't really establish, like, does this mean we've broken up? Does this, what does this mean? But we were not, again, sleeping together. We didn't kiss. We didn't cuddle. Like, there was nothing romantic between us. Once he moved out, he did not spend the night or anything like that. So it didn't feel like we were dating. So I was surprised when when I changed my Facebook relationship status to single in like January, maybe, he got upset. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, in what world are we in any kind of relationship? I mean, we were still hanging out like 2 or 3 times a week, though. He'd play trivia with my family. We would meet up at Brewery X sometimes. And I knew from the day that he moved out that he immediately resumed going to Brewery X all of the time, every day, I assume, and not telling me about it and not inviting me. But at that point, well, we're just friends, so I can't say anything about it. You know what I mean? I don't invite Cassie to every single thing that I do, I guess. Although I would never be opposed to her joining me for anything. But like, you know what I mean? She's busy, I'm busy. Sometimes I'm just doing something else. So I'm like, well, he can go to Brewery X all the time without me, I guess, if we're just friends now, so it doesn't matter. But we stayed friends, and I will tell you this, it's hard. It's difficult because Ian is kind of a depressive person, and there would be so many times that just as friends, we were like, it would be a beautiful sunny Saturday afternoon, and I'd be sitting at Brewery X, and then he'd walk in and sit down next to me, and I'd be in a really good mood, like happy, everything's good, and he would just be rain clouds and just always complaining about something, complaining about work. Worst employees ever, worst boss ever. Then he got a different job, and that was the worst boss ever. And then, complaining about his kid's mother. Oh my God, he was always just pissed off about something. And it's really draining to be friends with someone like that. If you've ever been friends with someone like that, it's a lot, because you're just like, okay, give me all your problems, but I wanted to be there for him because in a way I kind of always I was compassionate towards him. Part of what attracted me to him in the very first place was that he was kind of a sensitive guy, kind of an emo kid, and I have this problem that I have had for a long time where I choose sad boys. And it never works out in my favor, but I do it anyway. It started with Nick in 2013, and then Jack was a sad boy. Zach was a sad boy. Like, I choose men who are going through shit because, I don't know, I blame emo music. But, I always felt for Ian. I wanted what was best for him, and he ended up going through, after he moved out, he was going through a really hard time personally. I won't say why or what with, but he was going through a big thing, and I kind of felt in a way like I was his only real friend at that point. He's got like family that lives far away, but he didn't really have a support system. In fact, at one point we were sitting at Brewery X with one of his like old man drunk friends, and Ian went to the bathroom, and this other guy says to me, like, man, I'm really glad that you guys are still friends and that he has you and that you're there for him. And I kind of wanted to be like, well, why don't you be there for him then too? You know what I mean? Why are you putting this on me? Like, yeah, he should be really glad that he has me, but also, like, if you care about him that much, why don't you be his friend? So here I am, still being his friend. We're still playing trivia. We're still doing all this stuff. And just like 6 weeks ago, he tells me that he wants to hang out with my nephew, who is going to be 2 years old in a month and a half, or no, in 2 months. We share the same birthday, my nephew and I. I'll be 42, he'll be 2. But he was, Ian was saying like, man, I love little kids. I want to hang out with them. I was like, oh, well, next time I hang out with him, you should come with me. And I set this up for him. I was like, okay, I talked to my sister. I talked to my parents. My parents are watching him at 3 o'clock next Saturday. I knew that Ian did not have his kids that weekend, so he would be free. And I was like, we'll go over there. We'll see my nephew. We'll hang out with him a little bit. I had some like fun hats that I was going to give him and stuff because my nephew loves putting stuff on his head. And anyway, Ian was like, cool, awesome. I reminded him about it like midweek on Wednesday. Yeah, no, don't forget this Saturday. We'll go hang out with my nephew for a little bit. And in my mind, I was thinking, we'd probably go see my nephew for like 30 minutes and then we'd go grab a beer or something like we did every one of his kid-free Saturdays. That's my mistake because there had not been a weekend where Ian didn't have his kids since the day I met Ian that we had not hung out and done something. So I was kind of just assuming that if he didn't have his kids, we would hang. And I shouldn't have been doing that, especially with someone who was my ex, but that had been the pattern thus far. And so I just assumed we were hanging out. But again, he knew about these plans that I made for him, around him, with my family, to have him come see my nephew. And then the day of, I texted him that morning at 11 o'clock and was like, so do you want to just come over at like 2:45 and then we'll head over there? And he writes me back and says, I don't think I'm actually going to go. I got to run errands. This is just bailing. You know what I mean? And people bail. So whatever. I mean, obviously, he could have run errands any other day. He could have run his errands between 11 and 3. He had 4 hours before we were supposed to meet up. It was just a stupid excuse. Now, I don't bail. If you and I have plans, unless I like get COVID or something, I'm coming. I don't bail. That is not the kind of person I am. That is not the kind of friend that I am. But I have accepted that I am the minority of people and that a lot of people bail on plans all of the time. I used to get really upset about it, and now I just realize that's how a lot of people are, and you have to just accept them. It was annoying, but I was like, okay, fine. So I go about my day, and I tell myself kind of like, I'm not gonna hit him up. I'm going to wait and see if he hits me up later when he's done with his errands and wants to hang out. And at like 6 p.m., he texts me something random, like about the eclipse or the cicadas or something, whatever's going on. It was completely unrelated to anything. And I wrote him back and was like, are you going out tonight? Do you want to grab a drink? Because at this point, I'm like bored and I want to do something. And he just writes me back and is like, no, I think I'm in for the night. And I spent the rest of that night just being mad at myself again for like having my social life revolve around this guy who was now bailing on plans with me, who was an ex, and I was just mad at myself saying, I need to have more friends. I got back on Bumble BFF that night, I think. I was like, screw this. I need a broader social life. I don't want to be depending on Ian, blah, 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 blah. But I was annoyed with Ian for bailing on plans, but I wasn't mad at him yet. I was mad at myself. And then the next morning, my friend Robin texts me and asks if I want to get brunch. So I go get brunch with Robin. And while I'm there, Ian texts me and says, what you doing? So I'm still kind of annoyed with him. But Robin's like, invite him out. So I did. I was like, I'm at brunch with Robin. We just got here. Do you want to join us? But Ian was like, no, I don't think so. Like, I just got up. But, and it's like, we were like across town. He's like, but I'll let you know later. And then as I was leaving brunch and Robin was going home, I kind of wanted to stay out. So I told Ian, well, I think I'm going to head to Brewery X. Do you want to meet there? And Ian said, sure. And I got to Brewery X. Now, keep in mind, this is a place that Ian goes every single day. But I got to Brewery X. I sit up at the bar. I order my beer. Ian walks in. Ian sits down next to me. And one of the servers comes up to Ian, looks at him and says, you're back. Now, I immediately know that this means that he was just there, and because it was still like early afternoon, I don't think he had already been there that day. But you wouldn't say you're back to a guy who's there every day because he was there like Friday. You know what I mean? Like, clearly he had been there the day before, and I had already kind of suspected it. But to just, affirm my suspicion, I asked Ian, oh, when were you here last? And he said, I don't know. Because he had been caught, and he knew that he had been caught. So I just left. I paid for my beer. And I walked out, and I'm pretty sure everyone that he was sitting with that had like kind of joined us and everyone at the bar and the servers probably gathered that I was pissed. And I sent him one text later that day, which I kind of wish I hadn't at this point, but like I did. And the gist of the text was like, you know, it's one thing to bail on plans with me that I made around you with my family. But then to go drinking without me instead and basically lie to me about it. I don't get your obsession with going to Brewery X without me. I don't understand it, but feel free to go there every day without me. I shall no longer bother you by trying to accompany you places. I think I said something like, you are going to miss my friendship though, you know, because he fucked up, really. You know, I think so anyway. And the last thing I said was, forward your damn mail. And he still hasn't. He still has not forwarded his mail. I am still getting his mail. Why? It takes 3 minutes. You go to usps.org, whatever it is, and you fill out the form. Nope. Still getting his mail. He never wrote me back. I have not heard a peep from him since. I feel in most relationships that I've been in fact, in most work situations, friend situations, not even just talking about romantic relationships, I'm fairly perceptive. I usually can figure out what's going on. I usually understand people's motivations. You know, when I was with Pete did me wrong. Pete was terrible to me. But I always understood why he was doing what he was doing. Not to say that it was okay or I was justifying it. I just understood Pete. I understood that he was super passive aggressive. I understood that he lied by omission. I understood why he liked me and why he liked Emily and why he wanted to keep us both around. Like, I understood Pete. Pete understood me. It's why I still hang out with Pete, because Pete gets me. I get Pete. And I will say the nice thing that I like about hanging out with Pete is, you know, when I would hang out with Ian, we just did not agree on anything. And I think it is good to have friends where you disagree on things and you can have like a good debate about something. It's good to surround yourself with people who have different viewpoints. And it's okay if you're dating someone and they have different viewpoints on certain things and you can get into like good intellectually stimulating conversations about that. But when you disagree on everything and you're coming from just completely different perspectives on everything with someone that you're in a relationship with, it is exhausting. And I felt like with Ian, like everything that we talked about, he was just coming from a completely different place. Like anything that we would hear, we'd hear the same news story, and what his takeaway from it would just be so different than mine. And then sometimes I'll go out with Pete and it's like, what's nice is I was like, oh, it's really nice to just hang out with someone again who like gets me, gets it. We agree. We're coming from the same place. That's why I still hang out with Pete. And I feel like even when I'm hanging out with like my friend Robin, we don't agree on everything, but like we have the same sense of humor and we laugh a lot. I didn't really laugh with Ian. Ian didn't have much of a sense of humor. We definitely didn't have the same sense of humor. I mean, there were moments sometimes, but I just, Ian is so strange to me. I just don't get him. And like one of my friends who knows him said the other day, I was kind of saying something to my friend. I was like, you can still be friends with Ian if you want. And he was like, you know, like Ian's hard to relate to. And I was like, huh. You know, I'd never thought of it like that. But at the same time, that's a little validating because, yeah, I think he is hard to relate. I think maybe that sums it up. Like, Ian and I were just Mars and Venus. You know what I mean? And so for that reason, I could understand why Pete did everything that he did to me. And Jack, and Nick, and Adam, and my ex-husband. Like, literally almost everyone else that I've ever been in a serious relationship with, I didn't necessarily like or approve of what they were doing, but I could get them. I could understand what was going on. With Ian, I just don't understand this whole thing about going to the bar. I really don't know. I don't get it. I don't get why you would want to be part of that sad old man that goes to the bar without your woman and gets drunk before you go home crowd, because those are not the cool people. You know what I mean? Like the cool people are the people that are always there as a couple. Like I don't understand why it was so important for him to. I mean, when in July 2022, when we first got into this fight, his explanation for it was that Brewery X is my sanctuary. He was like, the people at Brewery X really helped me through a super hard time when I was going through my last breakup. And I'm like, why does this mean you have to go there without me? Like, the same people don't even work there anymore. But also, like, I was your real friend. If he had, like, a parent die, is the staff of Brewery X showing up to the funeral? No. They might give him a free shot or something. But I would go to the funeral. Like, I was a real friend, but he chose Brewery X over my friendship, I guess. And I guess I'll never understand it. I will have to just accept that I don't get it. They're doing yard work outside. I'm sorry if you can hear it. I don't want to stop because I feel like I'll lose my momentum, but hopefully you can't hear it too bad. But this all brings me to what happened yesterday. Okay, so at this point, I have not spoken to Ian in like I said, just about 6 weeks. The last time I saw him was when I left Brewery X, and then I sent him that text telling him to forward his mail, and not a peep in return from him. Nothing. Not wanting to come get the couple of things that he still had left here, not wanting to come do his laundry, which he was doing at my house. Nothing. Not a peep. To which some people in my life, like my parents, are surprised that I haven't heard anything, but I think that the one thing I do know about Ian is that he will leave someone alone if he senses that they want to be left alone. So, have not heard from him at all. But I meet this girl on Bumble BFF, and she seems really cool. But randomly, she says to me, I know she's not from where I live, but she's like, I know some people that live by you. Actually, my husband's brother and his girlfriend, you might know them if you hang out at Brewery X a lot, because she does trivia for a couple of the breweries in town. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I definitely know them. The two people that she's talking about are Ian's friends. And I'm just like, of course. You know, this girl lives near Chicago, but she happens to know Ian's friends. Like, oh my God, like small world, like why? But okay, she seems cool, so no big deal. But again, this is her brother-in-law and like pseudo sister-in-law. I'm just going to say sister-in-law. They're not married, but they've been together for a long time. They live together. So let's just say it's her brother-in-law and sister-in-law, her husband's brother and his girlfriend. And they're Ian's friends. And so her and I have a lot in common. She's a vegetarian. She loves beer. And so she was going to be in town for work. And she was like, do you want to grab dinner at Brewery X after I get off work? And part of me kind of wanted to be like, can we go anywhere else just because my ex hangs out at Brewery X? But then I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let him dictate where I go. If this is where she wants to go, she's from out of town, she wants to go here, I guess I'm going to go. You know, at some point I was going to go back. And it's not a big deal. It's like, whatever. If Ian's there, he's there. So we make plans to go there. But I joke to my friend Cassie the night before. I'm like, how much you want to bet that Ian still goes there every single day and that he will be there? But I said it mostly joking, like in jest. Like I didn't really want to believe that he was still there all of the time. And also, I was not meeting this girl until 7 p.m. and Ian was the happy hour crowd. So I'm like, he'll probably be gone already, even if he is already there. But I get there in the parking lot at like 6:55 and Ian's car is there. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? I was so annoyed. I just was annoyed. I just felt like I just wanted to like meet this girl and have a good time and be like relaxed and not have to worry about Ian and him being here and seeing him, you know, like, cause it's not like that big of a deal. Like, I don't care if I see him, but at the same time, I just didn't want to like deal with that right now. I just wanted to have a good night. And I text Cassie and I'm like, yep, he's here. And she's like, are you kidding me? The other kicker is the girl gets there and as we're walking inside, she goes, oh, that's my brother-in-law's car. So I'm like, well, if they're here, they're sitting with my ex, by the way. And she's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "No, they're," I said, "I met him when he was with your sister in law." Like, they were together the night I met Ian. And so I'm like, "Yeah." So we walked in, and yeah, they're all at the bar. Ian, one of his old man drunk friends, and then this girl's brother in law and his girlfriend. And so it's a little weird. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Well, they've seen us now, and I just went to get a table. But then they have two rooms. They have like a front room and a back room. And the girl, my Bumble BFF, she actually, we started to sit down, and then she's like, "Actually, do you think the back room is open? Because I kind of want some of, there's a bigger beer list in the back." And she's like, "I want some of those beers that they don't have up front." So I was like, we can go check out the back. And there was a little part of me that didn't want to go to the back because I didn't want Ian to think that I was sitting in the back because I wanted to avoid him. You know what I mean? But like, whatever. She wanted to go to the back. So we ended up going to the back. But then after we got like situated, she was like, "So I feel like it's weird if I don't go say hi to my brother-in-law and his girlfriend." Like, and I was like, "Yeah, yeah, go. But you understand that I'm not going to go with you." So she went and talked to them for a while. And then she comes back. She goes, "So that was your ex?" Like, introduced me to him and stuff. And I was like, "Yep, that's him." And I mentioned at one point that he was 5 years younger than me. And she was like, "What? He looks so much older than you." And I was like, "Girl, stop." I mean, either. But anyway, no, and then it was fine. It was probably better that we were in the back room because then I could just relax a little bit and get to know her, and we had a good time. But then at one point, she went to the bathroom, and then she came back, and here's the thing. Our bartender on the back side was this girl who, not a regular bartender there, but she has been a server there for quite some time. But she's not someone, because Ian and I would always sit at the bar. It's not like someone that we talked to a lot. I don't even know her name, if I'm being honest. So like someone who would probably have observed that Ian and I used to always come there together, like knows facial recognition between the two of us, but not someone who I would think would be like up on the gossip. But like, Bumble Girl comes back from the bathroom, and she, I guess, had peeked around the corner, and she says, all she said to me was, "He's gone." And the bartender looks up from like washing dishes and goes, "Oh, Ian?" And I'm just like, "Oh, so everyone here knows my business." I mean, it was just like, in my mind, I was like, no, nobody here cares about this. Nobody here is thinking about this. Probably no one who works here has even noticed that Ian is here all the time without me now, and that I haven't been here in a while. It's probably not even on anybody's radar. Nope, it is definitely on their radar. So, all in all, and on the way out, we stopped and we both talked to her brother-in-law and his girlfriend, who I do know through Ian, and also just kind of through like the brewery scene in this city. Like, they're at all the places. And so we talked to them for a while, and it was funny because the sister-in-law friend that we have was like, when you guys walked into with each other, I was like, did they know each other? But then I was like, it makes sense though, because they have the same diet and they both like beer and they have the same taste in music. And we were like, oh, well, we're glad that you approve our friendship, because we do have a lot in common. And then we went somewhere else because we both had today off. And so we, when we were at the second location, no one I knew was there, so we could actually just have a good time and I could relax. But there was just this part of me that was just annoyed that I had to like deal with that at the same time that I'm just trying to get to know this girl. But again, it wasn't going to not go there because of him. You know what I mean? But I do wonder, because when I walked in too, and the first person that greeted us at the door is like pretty good friends with Ian, person that works there. She kind of looked at me and was like a little surprised. "Oh, hi," to me, At one point, Ian said, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about him before we move on. He said to me, "If we break up, if we stop talking, or whatever happens, I just want you to know I'm never going to say anything bad about you. If people ask what happened, I'm just going to tell them I couldn't be the man that you needed." There's two things I want to say about this. One, I don't really know what bad thing you would say about me. All I did was help you. What are you going to tell people? I tried to get you to go to the dentist and you wouldn't go? I mean, seriously? But moreover, number two, you couldn't be the man that I needed you to be. All I wanted you to do was like get an iPass, drive us places sometimes, go to the dentist. I mean, it wasn't asking that much. He makes it sound like I have these super high standards that he couldn't meet or something. No, you absolutely could have been the man that I needed you to be. You chose not to. I was not asking for much. Like, that is just such a cop out. Talk about like letting yourself off the hook. I was barely asking for anything. I just wanted you to help me pick out the washing machine. I asked for almost nothing from him. So I couldn't be the man she needed is a total cop out. But anyway, I am doing great. I really am. Everything is good. Like I said earlier, I think y'all were right in the comments. And don't trash him in the comments. I won't approve comments that trash him. I know that I have a little bit trashed him in this video, but I guess I'm just venting and trying to get this off my chest. And I'll probably look back in this video in another month and be like, wow, I was kind of hard on him. Like, I don't really care that much anymore. But I guess I'm just like worked up right now because I just saw him and like was just mad that he was there. But, you know, that's how things have gone down. And I think that the timing was right. I actually don't mind the fact that we had this kind of slow breakup, this sort of conscious uncoupling, if you will. I have been through a couple other breakups like that, and in the end, they were smaller with like shorter term relationships, but the slow fade out, if both parties are respectful of one another and no one starts seeing someone else right away, it can be a good thing because you don't have this shocking moment of like all of a sudden you're together and the next day you're not, right? Which is a brutal way to break up. And the easing out of it wasn't terrible overall, but I think that it was time to let it go. And my parents have friends that are joining our trivia team this week, so we have more people again. Yeah. So I have been on a mission to fill my social calendar so that I don't do what I did with Pete, because there were so many times that Pete and I broke up and I would let Pete back into my life because I was bored and I wanted something to do. And Pete would hit me up and be like, want to grab a beer? And I'd be like, yes, I'm desperate to get out of the house. So I have been trying to keep busy. So Bumble BFF. And so I met this one girl last night. And she is going to Riot Fest and has invited me to go with her. So I have people to go to Riot Fest with, hopefully. Riot Fest is this music festival in Chicago every year that I love. It has a lot of bands that I enjoy, and it has, a lot of pop punk bands, and this year's lineup is good for me. I've seen all of these bands before at some point, but like it's been a really long time since I've seen something corporate. This is like their reunion tour, so that's my first priority. New Found Glory will be there, Fall Out Boy will be there. A lot of other bands that I love. So I really want to go, but I had a little bit of a moment of like, who am I going to go with if I'm not dating anyone? I've always gone with Pete, and then 2 years ago I went with Ian. One year I was able to get my sister and someone she was dating to go with, and so that was the most fun in a group. But I feel like I know a lot of people who are going, but they're all like no one that is like a solid yes, I'll go with you. Like, okay, Pete is going with his kid, but I'm obviously not gonna, we had a conversation about the lineup and the bands and everything, but I'm not gonna like go with them. That's weird. My friend Brendan always goes, but he's had some like health issues lately. Doesn't know, like he's got a leg thing. He's like, I'm working on the strength in my leg, and it like I don't know if I can like walk around at a festival yet, but maybe by then I'll be able to. And I was like, okay, let me know. But we like totally different music, and he always goes for like the metal bands and I go for the punk bands. So we like, if we went together, we'd probably end up splitting up, I guess. But still I would go with him. I've just been asking around to everybody. Both Bumble BFFs have said that they're in. I don't know if the second girl's really that serious. She kind of just seems like she's down for anything. She's like, I'll go, So anyway, we'll see as we get closer to how that pans out. And then, like I said, I've got this other Bumble BFF. So the girl last night, we have like music in common, beer. It's hard to find girls who like beer. The one that I'm hanging out with Friday, kind of different scenario. Oh, the one from last night, married but no kids. The girl that I'm hanging out with Friday, she has 2 kids, but she's recently divorced. So we've been doing a lot more of like talking about her exes and also talking a lot about Bridgerton. I just started watching Bridgerton like a couple months ago. I just started streaming it from the very beginning. Not something I ever watched before because I'm not usually into just like straight romance. I need like a rom-com or something else going on. And I've never been into like historically set fiction, but I should have known it would be good because it's Shonda and Shonda shows are good. And yeah, I mean, I got into it. I liked it. I'm very casual about it. There's so many people online who are like very mad and passionate about the different storylines and the book adaptations. Like people who love the book are mad that they're changing things, whatever. And I'm just like, I don't know. I like it. It's entertaining. But we've been talking about that. So, and then, like I said, I've got, other things going on. I actually have several people texting me right now as I'm doing this video asking me what I'm doing tonight, but I kind of wanted to take today off because I've got tribute tomorrow and then something going on Friday, and then I have a graduation party on Saturday, and I just took my Semaglutide shot this morning, so I'm going to start feeling not awesome pretty soon here. Shall we transition into that? I think I was going to mention, let's do an update. So I started on March 18th, and today is June 19th. Happy Juneteenth. And so I've been on it for 3 months, and I think I'm on, this is week 14. So 13 weeks completed. I lost 4 pounds the first week, and then it's just been a pound a week or so since. So I'm down in total right now 17 and a half pounds or something like that. At first, I had some pretty bad abdominal cramps, but those subsided after 4 to 6 weeks. The one side effect that was kind of bad for me was racing heart. So my blood pressure, fine, but my pulse shot up. My pulse normally in the lower to mid 70s. When I was starting this medication, my pulse would be in the 90s. I made the mistake of telling my doctor this in hopes that she would up my beta blocker prescription, but instead she said, no, I don't want you taking more beta blocker. I'm not going to increase your dose. So I'm still on 1 milligram of the semaglutide, which is not even a clinical dose yet. I really wanted her to bump me up, but she wouldn't yet. But that has gotten better now too. I think she was right. I just needed more time to get used to that dose because now my pulse has pretty much returned to normal. I'll still hit the 80s sometimes, but that's usually if I haven't taken my beta blocker recently, which I always take since 2009. I've been on beta blocker. So that's getting better. Here's what I will say. This medicine, I can see why people get emotional talking about it because it makes me feel normal. It makes me realize that I have, up until this point in my life, for the last 41 years, not had a normal relationship with food, that I've not had a normal relationship with my appetite or my hunger or the guilt that I have over eating, and now I'm normal. It's really kind of mind-blowing because, for example, used to be if I would eat breakfast at 6:30 in the morning so that I'm in my car by 7, I'm at work at 8. By the time I'm at work, I'm hungry again. By 9 o'clock, I need a snack or I feel like I'm going to pass out. And then from then on, I'm counting down the minutes till lunch. Now, I eat breakfast at 6:30. I drive to work. I go to work. I'm working. I'm concentrating on work. I'm focusing on work. And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, it's lunchtime. And I hadn't even thought about it. And to think that naturally thin people exist in the world and that's how they've been living, whereas I have been living a life where every waking moment and sometimes the sleeping moments too, I am thinking about food and I am hungry in an annoying way. And that's gone now. I've spent my whole life yo-yo dieting, up and down, to the point of where I have broken my metabolism. I'm sure of it. And in my 20s and early 30s, I could do a starvation diet and lose weight. I could do 1,200 calories a day, 1,400 calories a day, whatever. I could count calories and I could lose weight. But now I can't even do that. Anytime I've tried to do that recently, my upper 30s, 40s, I'll starve myself for 3 months and lose 2 pounds. And then it's just it's not worth it. And so I go through this cycle of when I'm on a diet, no matter when it is, 20s, 30s, 40s, no matter when I'm on a diet, my life is miserable because I'm starving. And I am hangry, so I'm in a bad mood all of the time. I can't sleep when I'm hungry. I lie awake in bed and I think about food, and then I feel like I can't do anything social either. Like, I'm eating 1,200 calories a day. My friend wants to go out to dinner. What am I going to get? A side salad? I certainly can't drink, And so I feel like being on a diet is torture. And then you add to it the fact that, like, it's not even working anymore for me. I give up, And as soon as I'll say I'm on a diet for 3 months, I lose 2 pounds, 3 pounds. And then I just decide, you know what, this weekend is my friend's birthday. I'm just going to go and eat one piece of pizza and have one beer. And then it's like I'll gain back all the pounds that I lost. And it just feels like, why did I even do this? And now I'm able to lose weight again. And the best part is I don't really have to feel deprived. I just don't want as much. But I can tell you this. It is not just an appetite suppressant, because I guarantee I'm eating more than 1,400 calories a day right now on the medicine, and I'm still losing weight. So it's not just working as an appetite suppressant. That's part of it, but it's also allowing your body to drop the weight, and it's fixing your hormones and how your insulin works to allow your body to lose weight. And I know that though I am not diabetic, my insulin swings a lot when I'm not on this medicine because I get hypoglycemic. The girl I went out with last night, she's a pharmacist. She wanted to know my experience. I was telling her this and she was agreeing with everything I'm saying. She's like, that makes sense. That makes sense. She was like, a lot of people are abusing this medication. She's like, but you sound like you are exactly the kind of person who should be on it. Like you have a legit reason. Because I sometimes will hit the floor in the morning. I will pass out if I don't eat immediately when I wake up because my blood sugar is so low. But I've tested my blood sugar after meals because for the past decade of my life, I've been dating diabetic men. And my blood sugar, it will shoot up into the 140s, maybe even hit 150 if I've been drinking. Like my blood sugar, very swingy. And my doctor said that makes you gain and retain weight. So that's not happening anymore. And I'm actually able, with eating less, to lose weight. But everybody out there who says, just use willpower, just eat less. Shut up. You don't know what it's like to live like this. You don't know what it's like to be so hungry all the time and think about food constantly, but then everything that you eat, you feel guilty about it. You just don't know. It's not like people who are overweight are sitting around being gluttons and just lazy and like eating nothing but McDonald's. That is not the life. I don't eat fast food at all. I haven't eaten fast food in like a decade, except for maybe a bean burrito at a Taco Bell every once in a while because it's the only thing around me when I'm traveling for work. But like, no, it just feels like my body was broken and now it's fixed. But my insurance was covering this for me. It's a pain in the butt because I have to get prior authorization every time you change your dose, new PA. My endocrinologist, part-time, super busy, doesn't get back to me for weeks. It's been a pain in my butt. And people are losing coverage all of the time. They're not losing enough weight, so their insurance company stops covering it. They lose too much weight, and now they're not overweight anymore, and so the insurance company stops covering it, which is, of course, crap, because you don't stop giving someone Prozac because they're not depressed anymore, right? You don't stop giving a diabetic insulin because their A1C goes into normal range. Like, you don't take away the drug that got them better. But this stuff is so expensive because the drug companies are charging a ludicrous amount for it. By the way, they're charging like $1,300 for it here in the US. In like Denmark, they charge like $180 for it. Like they're just doing it because they can, because the US is so messed up. But of course the insurance companies don't want to cover this stuff if they can help it. I got a letter in the mail the other day saying that my insurance is going to continue to cover this medication, but only if you participate in a lifestyle management plan through the insurance company. I don't know anything about it yet because I can't call and sign up until after July 1st. But it sounds like from all of the people there's a lot of insurance companies doing this now. So there's a lot of people getting these letters and all of the groups and boards and everything all over the internet. And the people who have had to do it before are saying it could be anything ranging from like you have to weigh yourself every day and get blood tests and send them to these people constantly to like it's no big deal. I have to have a Zoom call with a nutritionist once a month. So it could be anything in between. It sounds like what it might be for me is Zoom calls and also a scale. They give you a scale that connects to the internet so they can see how much you weigh, which is very big brothery. And I'm sure they're like using my data or whatever, but if that's what I have to do to get the coverage, fine, I guess. What else am I going to do? Well, what else I might do is go to a compound pharmacy because trust me, I've got plan B, C, and D lined up because I think about this constantly. One of the side effects of this medication can be some people get like depressed. I don't have that. I'm not depressed. In fact, I'm happy. I'm thrilled that I'm losing weight. But my anxiety, I am an anxious person. And I have so much anxiety now that I feel like this is changing my life for the better. And I want to be able to stay on this medication every single day. Like my Roman Empire now is thinking about like, how am I going to be able to stay on this medication and what am I going to do if they stop covering it? I think about it so much. And I try to tell myself, you know what? If they stop covering it, I'll just do a compound pharmacy. My friend who lives in Iowa does like, I think she buys the peptides online. She told me reconstitutes them herself. One of my Bumble BFF girls told me she knows a nurse practitioner who can prescribe it. There's 1,000 companies online that will give you compounded semaglutide, and it's not FDA approved, but a lot of people have luck on it and it works. And it's like, that's what I'll have to do. And I try to tell myself it's really not that big a deal. I need to stop stressing about this. But I just really, I think what it is that this feels to me too good to be true. That my whole identity as a person, since I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, has been wrapped up in being a person who struggles with weight. Whether I've been fat or thin, I've always been a person who struggles with weight. I grew up in a household where weight was talked about constantly, where being thin was constantly a goal. Whereas if I gained weight, someone was going to tell me about it. Again, yo-yo dieting my whole life. I know what it's like to be treated by society as a thin person versus a fat person. I know how it is to online date. It's a thinner person versus a fatter person. My whole life, every day. Again, if you're someone who struggles with weight, you think about this every single day. Every day when you put your clothes on. Every day when you eat anything. And now, this medicine is like, I don't have to feel bad about what I'm eating anymore because I know that I'm just going to eat a little bit of whatever it is and then I'm going to be full and I'm going to stop and I'm still going to lose weight for the week. And it's too good to be true. So I'm constantly thinking that like I'm going to get it taken away from me. I also worry about that I'm going to end up with like a horrible side effect, like the paralyzed stomach thing or something, and we'll have to go off of it. But at least then it'll be like I have to go off of it because of my own body and not because somebody at my insurance company says so. I don't like the idea that like my doctors say I should be on it, but somebody at CVS Caremark says I shouldn't and they get to make the decision. But it is what it is. Anyway, maybe it'll just help me to have gotten it out here in this video. But it's going well. Wish me luck with the lifestyle management program. Again, I don't really know what it's going to be. I need to relax though, because I've got plenty of it in my fridge right now. I've got at least like 10 weeks of it in my fridge at current, at least at the 1 milligram dose, which I don't know that's going to be effective that much longer. I need to bump up, but I've got that in the fridge. Like I need to chill, but it's working great. I know people who have lost weight a lot faster than me, but I try to remind myself that like it's better to lose it slower. It's better for the sagging skin thing, whatever, you know. Anyway, that's mostly what's going on with me. Like I said, it's a chill summer. I'm just trying to enjoy the chill summer because come August, work will get crazy again, but work is easy right now. I've got tons of vacation days that I'm using, not on anything in particular because I don't have anywhere to go or anyone to go do things with, but you know, just taking some time off, getting things done. Took the dogs to the vet the other day just to find out that Roscoe cracked 2 of his teeth on a Benabone. Public service announcement. You know, you're not supposed to give your dogs rawhide, so I stopped doing that, and the only thing I could find that they liked to chew were the Benabones, which are kind of hard. They also go under the name Lumabone sometimes. They're hard until they really get them gross with spit. Then I think they soften up. But Roscoe cracked 2 of his teeth, and they're the biggest teeth in his mouth with the 4 roots. And so they said that they each can take up to an hour to extract. So the surgery with all the anesthesia that he's going to need is going to cost me like $1,000. And when they quoted me, I was like, what? Because Clover, my cat, got a dental and it was like $600 and they pulled a bunch of her teeth, but little cat teeth, they just yank them out, I guess. And this is like a big procedure. And I thought about quoting it around, but in the end, it's like my sister works at that vet. I used to work at that vet. Her being there is worth something to me. But man, oh man, that puts a strain on the pocketbook. On top of that, the appointment that I had taken both my dogs to was like $700 because all the flea tick stuff that I had to buy and all the heartworm stuff that I had to buy, you know. I tell myself, you know what? You can afford, like, at least you have the money. Like, you have the $1,000. I don't want to spend it on this, but at least I'm in a situation where I can get the surgery. But God, oh, not much else going on. Let's see. Is there anything else going on? I know, and this video is really long, but that's it. That's the update. So maybe next time that I make a video, I'll be talking about all of my Bumble BFFs and my super active social life, and I'll be super skinny, and everything will be wonderful. As for dating moving forward, that is not on my radar. It's really not. I know that a time will come at some point where I'll have a weak and lonely moment or something, and I'll probably get back on the dating apps at some point. I don't want to do it until I lose more weight, for one, but I also just don't want to do it right now. It's awful. It's so awful. Right now, I feel like I'll never do it again, but I also know myself, and I feel like at some point I'll do it again. But man, oh man, the other day when I was with Robin, who is a guy, we were having a conversation about the grossest things that the people that we dated had ever done. And the grossest thing that he could come up with was like seeing his ex like pick their nose and eat it. And I was like, yeah, that's gross. But I have so many way more disgusting, gross stories about the lack of cleanliness and hygiene in the straight men that I have dated. I had him rolling on the floor. I had him crying, literally laughing with tears. And he goes, why do straight women date at all? And I said, I don't know, because men are so disgusting. Oh my God. Maybe this is why TikTok thinks that I'm gay and gives me lesbian thirst traps all of the time. And believe me, I wish. I've thought about it. I'm like, could I? Because if I were to have to pick just a life partner, someone to buy a home with, someone to, you know, share my life with in old age, I would much rather do that with a woman. I would much rather. But I just don't know that I could do like the sex stuff. And I think what it is that I'm a victim of combat heterosexuality. Like, I was born into a straight world where I didn't know any gay people. And I was in a religious society as well. And I just never considered, like, I had nothing against gay people at all. Never have. I'm wearing my pride shirt today. But I just kind of grew up and never, like, thought about it. You know, just dating men was what you did. And so that's what I did. But now I just feel like can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like, you know, I don't want to learn a new thing. I'm too old to change my sexuality at this point. Man, I would if I could, though, because I'm just over it. More likely what will happen to me moving forward is I will just be single forever, and it will be fine. I have 2 goals in life. One is to foster dogs. The other is to have a pool. Both of these things require me getting a house, right? Because I need like a yard that's fenced, whatever. And I think that's the problem, is that at my income alone, and this real estate market, I don't know that I could achieve that goal. And that is why my third goal is now to start a Golden Girls style commune. I think I've talked a little bit before on this channel about how, like, I don't get traditional living arrangements anyway, you know. as my friend Robin would say, monogamy in this economy, you know, like I think I told him, I'm like, yeah, I need to join a polycule just for the housing, but I'll be like the asexual one who just bakes brownies while everyone else is having an orgy. Like, you know, but I wanna, I would love to find other people that I trust financially to just like imagine if you had four incomes, then you could buy like a pretty nice house. And I like the idea of having like a communal space where you could like hang out with people if you want, but you also had to like your own room and your own bathroom. Like that would be important. Like you would need your own space. But you know, living in the dorms when I was in college, like some of the best stuff about living in the dorms is like you have your own room, you have your own space, but anytime you want to hang out with anyone, you just walk out into the hallway and there are people to hang out with, you know? I don't know. This real estate market might force more people. Every time I bring up Golden Girls Commune, I have it on my Bumble BFF profile. Every girl I know, every woman I know is like, I'm down, sign me up. But we'll see. We'll see if they get real about it when we actually get old. And I'm like, who wants to buy a house with me? We'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think that would actually be my ideal situation if I had to like just decide right now how the rest of my life would go. I would find, you know, three to five trustworthy women. We would buy a big house together with an in-ground pool, and we would all foster dogs with our fenced-in yard and be like the Golden Girls. That would be cool. So let me know if you're in. All right, now this video is officially over. Oh, and I think I actually need to go eat something. One thing about being on semaglutide, I can never finish a meal, and my fridge is overflowing with leftovers because every time I go out, I buy food and then I eat 3 bites, and I have all of these takeout containers in my fridge now, and I need to probably go eat some of that because it's expensive. But I'm saving a lot of money now that I'm not going to Brewery X near as much. I really am saving quite a bit of money, so that's a plus. Okay, y'all. Thanks for watching. Be nice in the comments, you know, not for my sake, for others' sakes. And I'll see you next time. Bye.